Ryan, give me a summary of the basics of what this public hearing is about. What is Point Lake? What are we discussing here?
So Point Lake, and there's a couple of Point Lakes within the Mackenzie Valley region, but this Point Lake is the Point Lake at the Ekati Diamond Mine. So Point Lake is a lake that's kind of near the east of and the south end of the site, near Lac de Sauvage. And underneath that lake, there are 3 kimberlite pipes, the Point, Challenge, and Phoenix kimberlite pipes. So Arctic Canadian Diamonds Company Limited, or Arctic, are looking to mine those pipes.
What's going to be happening at this public hearing? What's happened so far in terms of the process of getting that pit open, and what still has to happen at this public hearing? What are we going to see?
Yeah, so far, all parties have had an opportunity to review Arctic's application for these proposed activities. So the mining, the dewatering, the fish out, the creation of waste rock storage area. And so everyone has commented on that. The Land and Water Board and the Review Board have made their preliminary screening determinations, which essentially says that it doesn't need to go to environmental assessment as long as certain conditions and things are in place to mitigate impacts. So at the public hearing, it's parties' opportunity to really discuss the remaining or outstanding concerns that they have. Some of those concerns that we've heard include, caribou habitat, especially around that site because it's a really important corridor. The placement and the design of the waste rock storage areas and the overburden pile, and long-term water quality. So those are all kind of issues that people have brought up and would like to talk more about at the public hearing.
When they're watching this public hearing, who are people likely to hear from?
So mostly it's going to be from Arctic, the applicant, the company themselves. So they'll be doing presentations to explain and address folks' concerns, as well as there's 9 different interveners. So 9 different parties have put in formal interventions, which essentially means that they're making a formal submission to the Wakaji Land and Water Board, and they would like to have an opportunity to speak at the hearing and ask questions of Arctic and have questions asked of them by the board and by Arctic themselves.
And I did mention people watching this. How can people be a part of this? How can you attend? How can you watch? How can you be involved?
So there's a few ways to be involved. Depending on COVID, of course, there may be room to join in person if you'd like to come and sit and watch and listen. But it will also be streamed live on Cabin Radio's Facebook page, the Land and Water Board's website. So folks can submit comments through Cabin Radio's Facebook page, or there's a staff that'll be designated and their email address will be available on our website where questions can be submitted. And then board staff will put those questions on the record and ask them at the appropriate time. There will also be on each day an opportunity for the public to ask questions. So, we always make sure that time is available, and the final agenda isn't ready yet, but there'll be an opportunity on each day for the public to ask questions too. So,
after the public hearing, what happens? What's the timeline for something, decisions that need to be made, things that need to happen here?
Yeah, so following a public hearing, if there's any information that parties have requested from Arctic, those are called undertakings. And so there's a short time after the hearing where additional information can be gathered and made available to all parties. Board staff are also at the same time working on preparing a draft license and permit that would reflect the evidence on the record, from the technical session, from the hearing. And all parties will get an opportunity to comment on the draft permit and the draft license. And then in February, there will be closing arguments. So anybody who intervened, so the 9 parties, will get a chance to submit their kind of closing positions through closing arguments, in case they want to change a recommendation or tweak it, or based on all the additional conversations that have happened, just adjust their recommendations to the Land and Water Board. And then the proponent, Arctic, will get a chance to respond to that. And currently in the work plan, the board is set to make a decision sometime around March 2022. And of course, that decision then goes off to the minister for approval, because this is a Type A water license.
Just lastly, some people might be watching this and thinking, okay, but who does this affect? Do I need to watch this? Who are they anticipating is actually going to be watching this and feeling the need to ask a question or comment? Who do you imagine are like the kinds, and I realize this is a generalization, who do you imagine are the kinds of NWT resident who are likely to want to take a specific interest in this?
Well, I think anybody who's interested in the regulatory system up here, whether you like it or you don't like it, whether you want to know more about it, or you're really involved in it, I think this is a good opportunity to see how a hearing works. Also, it's a really good example of administrative tribunals, in practice, working, seeing how the evidentiary phase works, the questioning, how it's so much more informal than down south, but also anybody potentially affected by this. This Point Lake project, this proposed open pit, really will have a big impact potentially on the mine life of the Ekati mine, and whether it can continue to stay open. And so we recognize, a lot of regulators, a lot of different departments, a lot of different businesses might also be interested in what's going to happen with the Ekati mine. So,
okay, thanks for coming in and talk to me about it.
Yeah, no problem, Ali. Thanks.